Picture this. Two people wake up, go to the same office, do the same job, and go home at the same time. But one of them, statistically, goes home with less money, pays more at the pharmacy, spends thousands more over their lifetime on products their body requires. And if they have a kid, their career might never fully recover. That person? A woman. And this isn't about politics. This isn't a debate. This is economics. Today we're breaking down the full financial picture of being born female, the hidden costs, the lifetime math, the real disadvantages, and the surprising ways the economy actually bends in women's favor. This is the economics of being a woman. Let's start with the number everyone's heard but most people don't really understand: the gender pay gap. As of 2024, full-time women in the United States are paid 80.9 cents for every dollar a man earns. That's from the U.S. Census Bureau, not a think tank, not an activist group, the government's own data. Now, people love to argue about this number. Women choose different careers. Women work fewer hours. Fair points. So let's look at the controlled version. When economists control for job title, experience, education, and location, the gap narrows. But it doesn't disappear. According to PayScale's 2026 Gender Pay Gap Report, even in equal jobs, women earn 99 cents for every dollar a man earns. Sounds almost equal, right? But think about compounding. 1 cent per dollar. Over a 40-year career. That's tens of thousands of dollars you never saw. And that's the best case. Same job, same experience. The raw, uncontrolled gap is far wider. Pew Research found women earn 85 cents per dollar on average across the full economy in 2024. Other measurements put it at 82 cents. The explanation matters too. Economists point to three big forces. Occupational segregation: women cluster in lower-paid fields. The devaluation of women's work: jobs dominated by women tend to pay less. Think nurses versus engineers, and outright discrimination. Here's one data point that breaks the women choose lower-paying careers argument. When a field gains more women, the pay in that field tends to drop. When it gains more men, pay tends to rise. This has been documented across multiple industries by researchers at Cornell University. The work doesn't change. The perceived value does. Over a lifetime, the average female worker loses over $530,000 due to the gender wage gap. For college-educated women, that figure climbs toward $800,000. That's not a rounding error. That's a retirement fund. Now let's talk about the other side of the equation. It's not just that women earn less, they also spend more. Welcome to the pink tax. Walk into any drugstore and compare the men's section to the women's section. Same product, different color, different price. Research published in 2024 found women pay 4% more overall for consumer packaged goods in the same product category. But for explicitly gendered products, like personal care items, the premium jumps to 17% higher. In New York City, a study found products marketed to women were priced higher in 30 out of 35 categories. Women's razors, 29% more expensive. Body wash, 16% more. Underwear, 12% more. Sneakers, 24% more. The California state government estimated that women in California alone pay approximately $2,381 per year for the same goods and services as men. Over a woman's lifetime, that adds up to roughly $188,000 just in the pink tax. That's a down payment on a house. And then there's the pink tariff. This one is less talked about. Import tariffs in the U.S. are consistently 3% higher on women's clothing than men's. That tariff gap costs female consumers $2 billion more annually across the country. $2 billion. Because of import taxes coded by gender. And let's not forget the tampon tax. As of 2024, 20 U.S. states still charge standard sales tax on menstrual products, treating them as luxury items while exempting groceries and medication. States like Tennessee, Mississippi, and Indiana charge up to 7% tax on tampons and pads. Before New York eliminated its tampon tax, the state was collecting around $14 million per year just from taxing period products. Speaking of periods, let's talk about the economics of menstruation, because this is a cost that half the world pays and almost nobody includes in financial planning conversations. The average woman menstruates from age 12 to age 51. That's roughly 39 years of monthly costs. As of 2024, the average package of tampons costs $8.29, up 36% since 2019. A pack of sanitary pads averages $6.50, up 41% since 2019. Menstrual product prices have risen faster than food inflation. When you add up products across a lifetime, from basic tampons and pads to pain medication, new underwear, and other period-related costs, researchers estimate the total lifetime burden runs from $9,000 to over $21,000, depending on flow and choices made. In the U.S., a woman in New York can expect to spend over $7,000 in lifetime period costs alone, just on products. This is money men simply never spend. It's not a choice. It's biology, and the market charges accordingly. And for women in developing countries, it's not just expensive. In Nigeria and Zambia, period products consume over 10% of the average monthly income. That's period poverty, and it affects an estimated 500 million people worldwide. Now, we get to the most economically devastating event in many women's lives: having a child. For men, having a child is called the fatherhood bonus. Fathers with children under 18 earned 23% more than their childless male counterparts in 2023. Employers perceive fathers as more stable, more committed, more worth investing in. For women, it's the opposite. It's called the motherhood penalty. A Columbia University study tracked hundreds of thousands of families across 2 decades and found that working women see their incomes cut in half, on average, after having children. And those earnings remain depressed for years afterward. Even more striking, this happened to women who were the primary breadwinners before giving birth. The women who were earning more than their partners still took the bigger hit. The economic role before the baby didn't protect them. The numbers by country: in the United States, mothers experience a 31% earnings loss after having their first child. In Germany, it's 61%. Even in Denmark, known for its generous parental policies, women see a 21% hit. Each additional child under 5 reduces a mother's expected earnings by 15% per child. Nationally, in the U.S., mothers earn just 62.5 cents for every dollar paid to fathers. Full-time, year-round working mothers earn 71 cents per dollar compared to fathers. The motherhood penalty isn't just about time off. Hiring managers are demonstrably less likely to hire mothers, and when they do, they offer lower starting salaries. Not because of skills, not because of performance, because of the perception that mothers are less committed. Economists call this statistical discrimination. Employers don't assess each woman individually, they apply the average, and the average, in their minds, is a liability. Research also shows the motherhood penalty is responsible for nearly 80% of the entire gender pay gap. Remove the motherhood penalty, and the overall gap shrinks dramatically. In other words, the gender pay gap is, in large part, a parenting policy problem. All of these forces, lower wages, higher costs, career interruptions, don't just hurt women in the moment. They compound. Retirement savings are lower because contributions are tied to earnings. Social Security payouts are lower because they're based on lifetime earnings. Women are also more likely to leave the workforce for caregiving, not just for children, but for aging parents, further reducing their contribution years. Women live longer than men, on average about 5 to 6 years longer. They need more retirement savings, but systematically accumulate less. The result? Women over 65 face poverty rates nearly 80% higher than men in the same age group. The wealth gap doesn't just mirror the wage gap, it amplifies it. Now let's flip the script, because the economics of being a woman isn't purely a loss column. There are genuine, measurable economic advantages, and they are significant. Advantage 1. Women control the economy as consumers. Women control an estimated $31.8 trillion in worldwide spending. According to Nielsen IQ, women drive between 70 to 85% of all consumer purchasing decisions, not just personal products, but household goods, healthcare, food, cars, and real estate. In the U.S., women are responsible for 91% of new home purchases, 65% of new car decisions, and 93% of food purchases. The majority of the global economy runs on decisions made by women. By 2029, women are projected to control 75% of all discretionary spending globally. If women are a market, they're the biggest market on earth. Brands that ignore this, and according to Nielsen IQ, 91% of women feel brands don't understand them, are leaving trillions on the table. Advantage 2. The beauty premium, looks pay. This one is uncomfortable, but economically documented. Economist Daniel Hammermesh, author of Beauty Pays, spent 3 decades studying the relationship between physical attractiveness and income. His findings: attractive individuals earn roughly 10 to 15% more than their less attractive counterparts over a career. Over a working life, that translates to an additional $100,000 or more in lifetime earnings. And while this effect exists for both men and women, the economics of beauty investment run heavily through the female economy. Products, services, grooming, these are industries built on a real return. Women who invest in their appearance can, in documented economic terms, see material career and social returns. Is it fair? No. Is it documented? Absolutely. Advantage 3. Women are better investors. Studies consistently find that women outperform men as individual investors by about 1.8 percentage points annually, according to a fidelity analysis of 5 million accounts. The reason? Women trade less frequently, take fewer impulsive risks, and hold more diversified portfolios. The irony here is layered. Women have less money on average to invest, but when they do invest, they tend to manage it more effectively than men. Advantage 4. The female education premium is accelerating. Women now outnumber men on college campuses in the U.S. and most of the developed world. Women are more likely than men to obtain graduate degrees. As the economy increasingly rewards education, this structural advantage will only grow. The economy of the future is knowledge-based and social skill-intensive. Women who statistically outperform men in verbal reasoning, social intelligence, and educational attainment are positioned well for what comes next. So what does the full ledger look like? On the cost side, the wage gap costs the average woman over $530,000 in lifetime earnings. The pink tax adds another $188,000 over a lifetime. Period costs run anywhere from $9,000 to $21,000. The motherhood penalty can wipe out years of career momentum. The retirement gap means women face poverty in old age at dramatically higher rates than men. Added up conservatively, and being born female in the United States costs you, economically, somewhere in the range of $700,000 to over $1 million compared to being born male. But on the other side, women hold the keys to the largest consumer market in history. Women who invest outperform. Women's educational dominance is growing, and the global economic trajectory is shifting with female labor force participation in emerging markets being identified by the World Economic Forum as one of the single biggest untapped drivers of global GDP growth. The story of women in the economy isn't just about inequality. It's about a system that simultaneously undervalues women's labor and depends entirely on their spending to function. Here's what's wild about all of this. The economy charges women more, pays them less, penalizes them for having children, and then relies on them to buy nearly everything. The system was not designed with women in mind, and yet women are the ones keeping it moving. The economics of being a woman is not a story of victimhood. It's a story of a massive, documented market inefficiency. The kind that, when corrected, creates enormous value for everyone. Because when women earn more, they spend more. When they invest more, markets grow. When they aren't penalized for having children, economies don't shrink. The numbers don't lie. The question is whether anyone's paying attention to them.